Hello, young man.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
That's good.
And you?
Tired, hot, bothered, busy,
Um,
and all the other good that go with it. Okay. Me, I think let's get started. I'm on a 40-minute limit. I cancelled the subscription on Zoom. CERT relies on donations, and ever since COVID, it's become a bit of a problem. But my very first question that I've got is, how did you actually come about registering? How did you find us?
So I've just finished my diploma in health and safety.
Right.
So, and I have no experience in any of the fields. I've only got the theory behind me. So
Right.
I don't know if I came across it on LinkedIn or Facebook, but yeah, I was just going around all health and safety posts. And I think I saw,
All right.
disaster management.
And what do you do work-wise?
Well, currently I'm just doing safety files.
Right.
For now,
Are you working for the company or are you working for yourself?
For myself.
So you're doing it for yourself. And how's business going?
Yeah. Oh, it is so slow. It's pathetic, actually.
Yeah. Our designated licensed CAA drone pilot actually has a occupational health and safety company, which he's been managing for many a year. And he's complaining about the same thing. It's very, very slow. And this is one of the dangers that we have within the workplace, where employers don't understand that legally they've got an obligation to follow the OHS route, but then
what I've noticed, yes, what I've noticed is a lot of these companies, that what they do. What have I done? Oh.
Yeah, you
dropped. What have I done? Oh, there we go. I'm so technically challenged.
All right, you just yeah. Now you muted.
And now?
Now you're audio. So I'm used no video. Audio, yes. Video, no. No audio. No video. Audio. Oh. Video. Gotcha. And there we go.
Sorry, I'm blushing. Yeah. So what I found is that a lot of these companies, they're paying people for the safety files, but they just go and buy documents. And it's actually, they're not doing things legally, legitimately. So they're just paying anyone to just, fill out the missing documents and the missing information that they need.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So we're not compliant. We're not a compliant country.
No, we're not at all.
No.
Okay, so that's what you do on the safety side. Now, believe it or not, I'm a South boy myself. I come from the Rosettenville, Roseacre, Turfentine, Mondio, Robertson.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, because I was going to say, you guys you don't have a typical West Rand accent. You sound like you were once upon a
I'm actually Afrikaans, believe it or not. My dad's side of the family are the Afrikaners, and I upset the living shit out of him, and I followed the English instead. The Queen was my mum for many a year, and then she died now recently, so I wasn't very happy about that.
No, I'm sure.
Anyway, yeah, I was born and raised. Your parents will probably might even remember me from being in the south of Joburg.
Okay.
If you guys speak to your parents and ask them, do they know about South End Video, the video outlet stores in the mid-80s? Yeah.
Was it then that used to be there in the corner or something?
It was there
in Rosettenville,
down at Rosettenville corner, yeah, opposite Steers.
Yes. Oh, yes. Okay, I remember that actually.
I was general manager of South End Video.
Oh, wow. I can't remember I was a baby, but yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
When I met France, he had 4 stores, 3 actually.
Okay.
One in Rosetton, no, one in South Hills, one in Regent's Park, and one up in Verona Street.
Yes, in November.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then I
My grand used to stay in Verona Street.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah, then I grew him to 13 branches. I took over and set up the Ridgeway branch, and then I grew him to 13 branches. We ended up with one in Edenvale, one in Sandton City, and yeah, we just had a whole shitload of stores throughout the south of Joburg in particular. But not only
Okay.
that, a lot of people still remember me from my Red Cross days when I used to have ambulances operating out in that area. I also had
Okay.
the 4x4 response rescue vehicle that I used to drive, and I was parked on Rifle Range Road opposite Sir John on a regular basis because I lived across the road in the
Okay.
flats there.
Okay.
So that
Yes. Okay.
basically my background is I specialize in disaster relief and management, and I was trained by the International Committee of the Red Cross. I was involved with
Okay.
Red Cross for over 18 years in total. And
Mm.
in 2016, we decided, when I say we, I'm talking about me. I decided to put together an emergency or disaster related organization in order for us to concentrate on creating awareness, but also recruiting volunteers and preparing volunteers to be able to assist in times of disaster. Now, a lot of
Yes.
people within occupational health and safety, I've got to digress a bit, don't realize that there is in actual fact an indirect correlation between the two aspects.
Yes.
Now,
Definitely.
when you're looking at occupational health and safety and basic conditions of employment and the Factories Act and all of that used to exist, that was
Mm.
concentrated on the workplace. However,
Yeah.
my attitude and my training actually says, but hang on a second. These are
It
areas
should
where
be for everyone,
absolutely, these are
for all
areas
of us. Yeah.
where people are concentrating specifically on the workplace, but there is a small portion of it that actually gets migrated into the disaster relief and management aspect that we should, in actual fact, start looking at implementing. Now,
Okay.
in the last 10 years, 8 years, almost 10 years now,
Mm.
wide, the concept of disaster relief and assistance has moved from a reactive aspect into a proactive aspect. And what we are looking at now is there's a lot more concentration on disaster risk reduction. And that is
Okay.
now becomes crucial for us, for us to have trained volunteers within specific areas that can actually assist with certain levels and aspects that are required in terms of the Disaster Management Act. Now, the Disaster Management Act came out of the old Civil Protection Act, and that, of course, was drawn from the act that I was accustomed to, the Civil Defence Act. So I come from the old civil defence days. And being a paramedic, I did qualify as a paramedic in the 80s with the SA Red Cross. I did a lot of rescue work, Jaws of Life, firefighting, that type of thing as well. Now, what I
You're pretty specialized.
Yeah. So basically, what I decided to do is I had a chat with one of my former Red Cross colleagues and one of our licensed radio amateurs here in the West End. And we decided to form the non-profit company called Disaster Relief CERT.
Okay.
Firstly, up front, we are not a first responder organization. What that means is we are not going to concentrate on running out to every motor vehicle accident and every bit of bullshit that transpires in and around our communities. Because we need to understand the definition of disaster. Disaster is where the local authorities are unable to cope, using their own resources, or where the community is unable to actually cope. There we go. Let's get Michelle on board. All right, so no voice, no audio there yet. There we get in video come up. Right, video's there. I just need audio, and then you can do a quick introduction.
Okay.
No video, no audio.
Mm.
Still no video and no audio.
Eve, please charge this for mommy. Thank you. Okay, thanks. So we would be assisting with all kind of relief. So from like with the Boksburg explosion, were you involved with any of that, with the cleanup of?
Well, that's actually a very good question. Let's see if we can get Michelle up, and let me cover that answer while she is here. Okay, so let me do this quickly. All right, morning, Michelle. Michelle, I've got, there we go.
Hi, good morning, everybody.
There we go.
Hi, Michelle.
Morning.
This is Stephanie, also just registered as a volunteer. Your video is not up, by the way.
Yeah, today is not a day for video.
No, don't worry. I've been fighting not to have my photos taken, but I eventually got there. I've got an abscess with an abscess, so we're not very pretty myself. So,
so we don't worry about how we look. We have to do a job, and let me tell you, in times of disaster, we're going to look rather disastrous 90% of the time if you look at what's happening in the Gaza Strip. Eh? All right, so
yeah, for sure.
Michelle,
so my husband has went in to sit with us just to listen as well.
That's fine. Well,
perhaps
bring your video up, and then everybody can see everybody. And yeah, of course, your husband's more than welcome to join us. The more, the merrier.
Okay, give me a second.
Okay. All right. So while you do that, I just want to bring you up to speed. There is a 40-minute limit on the recording. If we do time out, I'll just reopen again, and you guys can join. Now, what I was saying is, just to give you a brief background, I come from a disaster relief and management background with the South African Red Cross, was involved for 18 years and trained by the International Committee of the Red Cross to provide disaster relief and management. And that is specifically on a large scale basis. I mean, my training, I'd be able to look after and deal with 60 million people for the entire country of South Africa. So that's the level where my training actually sat in terms of the International Committee of the Red Cross. So naturally, behind me, I'm busy watching what's going on in the Gaza Strip. And of course, Israel's bombing the living shit out of them, and there's very little left. And the humanitarian crisis that is unfolding there is of such a nature we've never seen it, which brings us to the point of, just before you guys joined, I said to Stephanie that John Groom, a fellow SA Red Cross member, Stephen Reynolds, a licensed radio amateur here in the West Rand, or the western part of Johannesburg, and myself, we got together in 2016 and started discussing bringing up a volunteer or a network of volunteers who would be able to assist in times of disaster. We are not as first responders. In other words, we've got enough private ambulance service, first responders, firefighting teams, and that can deal with crap on a day-to-day basis. My concern is what happens in times of a disaster. Now, our training, unfortunately, did not include civil unrest. However, what has transpired since 2015 in terms of what's termed the Sendai framework? By the way, guys, my camera's here in front of me. I've got a screen on either side of my teleprompter, so I'm not squint or anything. Just understand.
No problem.
Okay, so basically in 2017, well, for the last couple of years, probably 10 to 15 years, worldwide, the concept of disaster relief and assistance has moved from a reactive aspect to a proactive aspect. And what that means is instead of sitting back and waiting for the disaster to happen and then you only do things, you actually do things before a disaster occurs in order to reduce the risk of a disaster happening. So it comes under disaster risk reduction. It was a program initiated by the United Nations. Every now and again, you will see images coming up on news broadcasts, UNDRR. And of course, that is the United Nations Disaster Risk Reduction Program. And in 2015, in Sendai, Japan, they had quite a serious sit down and meeting. And fortunately enough, they included civil unrest into the aspect of the perils of disasters as a whole. Now, what we need to understand as volunteers is that disasters have a very specific definition. In other words, it might be disastrous to you, whatever the circumstances, but officially it is only declared a disaster when the local authorities are unable to cope with the situation on hand, or where the community is unable to deal with that situation without additional assistance and resources, finances, and whatever else. So we decided to put together specifically, and by the way, I was personally involved in all the political unrest in areas such as Tukoza, Katlong, Vosloorus, Zonkazizwe, this side, Kagiso, Mansfield, Beckersdal, all leading up to Mandela's release. I also worked at Alexandra Clinic for 15 years solid every Sunday morning, where we would go out as Red Cross volunteers. We worked the casualty department. We were responsible for all the suturing of the patients. That was our prime focus. However, those of us on the paramedical side and the primary emergency care side, we would in actual fact teach and train fifth-year medical students at the clinic. They had to do X amount of hours. They had to gain certain experience, so we would take them through the suturing. We would also take them through various of the resus situations that would arise from time to time within the clinical environment on that time that we were on duty. And we used to work there Friday, Saturday night, Sunday night for 4 hours, and then a Sunday morning for 5 hours. 5 hours on a Sunday was my time. So that is basically just briefly my background. But what I need to put forward to you guys, like Stephanie now has registered as a volunteer.
Yeah.
And you two will also register as volunteers. And a lot of people don't understand, and it's very difficult to get the message across. You register as a volunteer and then you sit there and you do absolutely nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
Quiet. Yes, on a Sunday night, I have a radio broadcast, which you guys are more than welcome to join. A lot of times our guys don't even come up on it because, when the shit hits the fan, believe you me, they are there. Like during COVID, for example, I used to have up to 20, 30 people attending the Zoom meeting on a weekly basis, and that went on for a period of like 4 months. I also had volunteers, especially radio amateurs, that would monitor the radios between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. And then I take over the radio monitoring from 8 p.m. I do have a company called MCOM PDY Limited, and MCOM is a two-way radio supplier. So here's what we need. In each of the communities, ideally, minimum, I need 10 volunteers. And I'm basing it on suburb-based.
Yeah.
So, for example, Stephanie, you in Mondial, I need a minimum of 20 volunteers in Mondial. Michelle,
Okay.
what's your husband's name?
My name is Zaid. Good morning.
Zaid.
Yes, sir.
Good stuff. Now call me Chad. Sir's that other, I don't know where he is today. He's floating around up. No, wait, he's on top of the mountain, bloody shit. Yeah, okay. So, hello, Saeed. So Bergeron, for example, I need a minimum of 10 volunteers. Now, here's the concept that I'm trying to build teams of. By the way, we are 80 odd members, almost 90 members that are registered at the moment. So we're not small. We're not new, but we are still reasonably new in terms of the registration as a non-government organization.
Yes.
Takes a lot of time to get things through the bureaucratic route. You know, it took us 2.5 years to register as a non-profit company and as a public benefit organization. Okay, so basically what we need is a minimum of 10. Ideally, I'm looking at 20 to 30 people per area. Here's what we need to do. In each of the areas, we need at least 2 radio operators. The other 8 people or other members in the area must all be equipped with 2-way radio equipment. Why? Because, of course, naturally, during a disaster, whether it's a tornado, a flood, an earthquake, or even civil unrest, cell phone towers, internet connectivity, all that's going to go down. So we've got to be able to communicate via 2-way radio, full stop. The remainder of the members are going to do specific things. We need volunteers that are going to cover and be able to assist in many, many aspects and facets of the disaster management cycle, from disaster risk reduction, for example. Every registered CERT volunteer needs to undertake the disaster area damage assessment training. But they should also take and must also take ultimately the induction training so that all the registered volunteers know exactly who we are, what we are, and how we are going to do things, how we fall in and under the Disaster Management Act, and how we need to coordinate our activities and work with the disaster management centers nationally throughout the company. Then basic radio communications, another one of the aspects that need to be considered and taken into account, which means that there is a financial implication. But besides needing volunteers, we also need to be able to source financing and also volunteers. Personally, my attitude is, as a volunteer, you need to make a plan and make contribution. There's a lot of potential for people to be involved in disaster risk reduction and also disaster relief and assistance as and when situations happen. As I say, during the KZN unrest, and this is why I say I'm glad that in 2015 civil unrest was brought into this. We've got a lot of potential for unrest in our areas. Our side of town on the western side of Joburg, Riverlea is a war zone. Westbury is a war zone. There's no doubt about that. Vleerhof, the bottom end of Vleerhof, Stormmill with the Zamas as well. That's another war zone, and we cannot deny that this is going to have an impact and roll over on us. The other thing, 2 things that are of major concern at the moment is, besides the fact that Eskom's total blackout, or even if it's just area-wide blackouts, we could end up with a situation, no water, no cell phones, no internet connectivity. Well, we are going to, it's a given. We are going to have no water, no cell phone connectivity, no internet connectivity, no electricity, and it's going to be for an extended period of time. So the question is, what do we do? Food security is another issue. Population is majority unemployed, and couple that up with the lack of water. Where do you think people are going to come and look for water and food? I'm just trying to think. Out on the East Rand this week alone, there was an attack on one of the, I think it was a Boxer store or something, where people have now stormed the store, and they are in actual fact wanting to loot it for food. That's how hungry the population has become. Now, all of this all of this is going to roll over into our areas. You know, if you take a look at, I know today it's called the Green Belt, the western side of Joburg, that whole Northcliffe Ridge, Bergbron, you guys, FNQB, there's a lot of open fields and ground and veld and everything else. This entire Reimsig, Strubens Valley, Constantia Kloof, we've got plenty of it here. When you start looking at what's happening out Main Reef Road by the mines and all of that, that there has become a problem area. Currently, even Lawrence, our designated civil aviation drone pilot, he's involved with Help 24. They're doing drone flights over these greenbelt areas to identify where we have people staying out in the greenbelt. Stephanie, your side of town, that whole Klip Riversburg Reserve, Klip River Reserve, all the way through to Eikenhof, all of that. There are a lot of people that are living there. And these are the
Yes, and I'm
people
aware.
that are going to, and they're not termed officially informal settlements.
Okay.
Stop and think about that for a minute. The informal settlements, our biggest one at the moment out this side of town is Princess Crossing.
Yeah.
Princess Camp, Princess informal settlement just beyond Westgate.
Westgate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's our biggest informal settlement? No,
Tembisa.
Tembisa. Oh,
No, Tembisa's way
Okay.
out for you guys, way out.
yeah.
Your biggest
That's-
concern is the Lenasia Eldorado area.
Yeah.
Okay.
The rest of it, I don't think they are officially, and then of course Orange Farm.
Yes. Okay. Orange Farm. Hello. I'm not thinking.
So now
Hello,
Orange
morning.
Farm, you know, even us this side, we've got Zandspruit, Diepkloof and Diepsloot. And experience taught me, you know, a 10-kilometer march out of a township doesn't take long, eh? And if you suddenly got 1,000 people coming down on a suburb, one thing is going to happen.
Mm,
People are going to run, literally. Those that don't know are going to run. And this is going to become a problem for us moving forward. So we need to plan and prepare. What are we going to do? We need to get our private security service providers involved. A lot of them are actually, they've lost the plot. They're trying to do medical. And now I see one of them has just bought a fire tender, and now they're going to start running fire engines in certain areas. No, we need to have our volunteers who are able to deal with situations. Of course, safety comes first. If something happens and you pack up and you leave, you've got to get your family out. You've got to make sure your family is safe. Get them out, get them to safety. The question is, what do we actually do with these people when they leave?
yeah.
You know, I've
Where do we take them?
several of the Constantia Kloof residents, and they get very annoyed with me. And I say to them, look, during times of a tornado or an earthquake, because our earthquake fault line is right here. If Constantia Kloof is affected by an earthquake, the volunteers in Constantia Kloof are not my concern. I'm not going to worry about them because 9 times out of 10, they're going to be dead. Why must I worry about them? I need to concern myself with the guys in Helderkruin, Weltevrede Park, Reimsig, and Florida, because those are the volunteers that are going to have to maybe come into Constantia Kloof to help out in Constantia Kloof.
Mm,
You see, it's a harsh thing
okay.
to say, but it's a fact.
Mm.
We have to take this into account and into consideration regardless. And that's why we need volunteers. There are other areas where each volunteer and member of society can assist, and that is to make donations to Disaster Relief CERT. After the last 5 years at looking at training and preparing volunteers, we need 1,000 Rand a year per volunteer. So as things stand at the moment, I actually need 90,000 Rand to train our current volunteer structure. Each of you in your own business dealings with community members, community WhatsApp groups, businesses, speak out and ask people to make a donation. The disaster relief CERT.org.za has got the banking details there. All donations are needed. Not to mention the fact that we still need donations to help others with equipment, etc. So there's a lot of help that is needed. And I think that sort of covers it in the basic terms. It gives you guys a simplified breakdown of what we can do, what is needed, and maybe even stretch your imagination on how you can get involved. Now, one thing I did say when I wanted to bring this together, and I spoke on the other groups as well, I've done these types of Zoom meetings on a regular basis. MCOM Pty Limited is a supplier of two-way radio equipment, and I've introduced what's called a Community Emergency Radio Network. Now, the Community Emergency Radio Network is a separate network to the Disaster Relief CERT network. That network, definitely, the CERT radio network, I definitely need financing. You know, that costs me 20,000 Rand a year in licenses alone in order to have radios licensed or equipment licensed for CERT volunteers. And the more that I get registered volunteers, the higher that licensing cost goes up annually. So that becomes a problem. Now, the Community Emergency Radio Network, I've designed it in such a way that it's community-based. So let's say, for example, there in Mondial, and of course, Mondial being in the bloody hole, we have no electricity, we have no power, we have no cell phones, no internet. How do you guys call for help? Not just the security help, but call for help as far as needing an ambulance or needing firefighters or whatever the case might be. The same thing with Bergbron. I'm designing the CERN or the Community Emergency Radio Network in such a manner that the radios is a once-off purchase. So on the older stock, you're looking at about 3,000 Rand on a handheld radio, and you could be looking at 6,000 Rand on a mobile radio and closer to 10,000 Rand for a base station. It's a lot of money. However, it's the only thing that's going to be able to be used when there is no cell phone connectivity. Yeah, but that will never happen. Hold on a second. I'll prove to you it did happen. During the unrest in KZN 2 years ago, 400 cell phone towers were vandalized. The areas around Phoenix had no communication capabilities at all for weeks. Let's go to the Knysna fire. All of the cell phone towers around Knysna and George were burnt during that fire. So much so that when that wall of fire separated the fire department, the Western Cape Disaster Management Structure from Knysna, that they could not get equipment into Knysna. They did not know that they actually had a firefighting team in Knysna fighting fires because they had no communications from one side of Knysna to the outside of Knysna. They were separated by a wall of flame. And the only way that communications could have been carried out, and just bear in mind that that incident is where parts of Knysna were evacuated to the sea. And the naval base sent vessels to go and rescue people off of the beach. That's how bad the Knysna fires were, that the majority of the population is not aware of. So that is something that we have to consider, not only from a disaster relief CERT perspective, but I also understand a lot of people, you know, we got elderly people living in our areas. They don't want to become volunteers. They don't have to be MacGyver swinging from a building to one building to another building on a shoestring. That's not going to happen. But what is going to happen when it comes to the point where we need to be able to have them call for assistance? I'll give you an example. Constantia Kloof went through 17 and a half hours of power failure in certain areas due to a mini substation being damaged, vandalized. Now, last month, September, during that 17 and a half hours, one of our residents in Constantia Kloof died. She was on oxygen, 55 years of age.
Sure.
Just like that, she was dead. And when I spoke to the people around them and I asked them, why did they not call for help? They said, we had no cell phone connectivity here. Now, had that family had a radio through our operation center here, the emergency operation center here, I've got radios with Help 24, for example, which gives me direct access to Help 24's emergency medical services and ambulances. I got radios with Beagle Watch, Dowry, and Help 24. Those are the three. I got radios with Emergency Control SA. Through the EOC, we could have called for help and gotten an ambulance down to that patient. Or better still, we could have been able to, through the Community Emergency Radio Network or the Community Emergency Response Teams, we could have gotten somebody in with a generator to go and power the oxygenator, and we could have kept that woman alive.
Mm.
It's as simple as that. Our days of playing are over, guys. We need everybody on board. We need husbands, we need wives on board. Yes, there will be times that the call will go out. For example, we might need to go and do light search and rescue. I don't expect the woman to actually get up and go and do search and rescue and move rocks and bricks and everything else. But I can tell you one thing. The woman can be handling the radios. The woman can be handling a clipboard, writing down the patient's name and address, which is all critical and crucial. The woman can be involved in throwing those bricks. Some women will probably throw better than I can. That's no doubt about that. I got emphysema. I burnt my lungs on a fire rescue. I'm not going to get myself into a situation where that dust is going to choke me up and kill me.
No.
I will manage from the outside, but there's other women out there that can go and do that. There's a lot of men that can't go and do search and rescue. But those are the men that can actually stand security and provide security over stock or manage the stock. Women can help manage the stock. There are many things we can do.
True.
So that's it in a nutshell. I think I'm going to throw it over for some questions, thoughts. Anything you want to add? Anything you want to say?
No. So what would our first task be as we've registered? Would that be training or?
At this moment in time, I'm looking at doing training in bulk. Okay. As I say, I only finished with all of the training material, etc., in December of 2022. Actually, the day before, the night before. Now, this is the irony of it. The night before, let me put it to you this way. On the 23rd of December 2022, at 10 p.m., I switched off my computer, having completed a module where I did a hypothetical situation of a chemical factory in Krugersdorp that could have exploded due to whatever cause. That comes back to your question earlier, Stephanie. What are we going to do? Were we involved? So let's look at what happened here. I turn the PC off at 10 p.m. I go and sleep. After going to sleep at about 2 o'clock, waking up at 6 o'clock because my WhatsApp is going ballistic, only to see that there is a tanker stuck under a bridge opposite BBH or Boksburg Benoni Hospital in Boksburg. And minutes later, it explodes.
Yeah.
The question is it a disaster? No.
No. Okay.
So we wouldn't have been involved. You see, the local fire department and services would have been able to cope with that situation. However, through an awareness creation program, had we had volunteers in that area, we could have warned people, and volunteers could have assisted in stopping people from going to the
Going there.
or to the stuck truck. They could have stopped them 3 blocks away without any problem. And said, guys, please don't go there. Do you know, instead of losing 44 patients that day, through a disaster awareness program, even if we saved 1 life, we would have accomplished something.
It's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is your first task? Your first task is, once you've registered, go and have a look at the policies and procedures, go and learn a little bit more about what we are doing, and then you sit and wait until we are all ready to do training. And in the interim, recruit other people from your area, speak on your other groups.
Okay.
People, make the recommendation that they register, share the info link, get them participating in the various groups. And in so doing, you start creating an awareness amongst people,
Yeah.
so that when we get to the point that I can sit down and say, right, through our current structures, reach out to your companies, reach out to other people, make donations. Then I can say, right, we've got X amount in the account. Let me take 10, 20, 50 people on one session on a Saturday and a Sunday, and we do a full-blown training for those people. There are books available, and of course the books now need to be purchased. This book here cost me about 400 Rand to print. It is a properly published book. It is not, and it's not something that I'm going to put out on PDF. And I'll tell you why. A PDF version 1 goes out, and then there's a change 3 years down the line. And people are still looking at the version 1, whereas we on version 2. And the protocol has changed. The procedure has changed.
Change. Yeah.
That's why even when it comes down to a first aid training, it is better to have it in a PDF format, because somebody picks it up and they learn the wrong thing, where we've now discovered it's going to kill the people now. And we've moved to a different version.
Yeah.
So would we be involved in a blast like that? Directly, no. Indirectly, volunteers in that area. I tell you what, if I had 10 volunteers and they said to me, look, we want to go, I would have said go. Just don't go near the blast site.
Yeah.
Go.
Okay.
You could have gone and helped out at the hospital. Go. You could have helped out under the care and comfort and reached out to people that were affected. Go. Do an assessment. Let's see what the damage is.
Okay.
Go. Help people stay away from the scene.
Yes.
Is it a disaster? No. But it's training for the disaster.
Okay.
You know, we could have a train accident. Same thing.
Yeah.
We could have a plane accident. There's a fantastic subject. What not to do in a plane accident and how to overcome various bits and pieces. And when I met with the Aeronautical Rescue Coordination Center chief, he said to me straight, Chad, you've nailed it. That's exactly what we need for volunteers. Just there, volunteers registered that are going to sit and participate, even in an informal setting, on what to do and what not to do during a plane crash is going to be beneficial to the community. But it's also going to be beneficial to the victims of the plane crash.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in Sandton and I saw a smoke ball. I thought I'll follow it. And I ended up driving all the way through to South Hills, where a chopper had crashed taking off from Rand Airport.
Yeah.
Sure.
I wouldn't have had to have spent 45 minutes chasing the location. Had I had volunteers in the area that I could have said, look, guys, there's something out on the East End. Who's got eyes on it?
Yeah.
Okay, so there it
So,
is.
so sorry. In the meantime, so while we don't have these radios, and so will all communication just be done through WhatsApp if there had to be?
Yes.
Okay.
However, I would recommend that volunteers start getting their radios. We've got volunteers with radio equipment.
Okay.
But not only that, through the Community Emergency Radio Network, I've structured it in such a way that Channel 1, for example, will be the local area, let's say Mondio, Constantia, Kloof, Bergbron. That's one, and Channel 2. Channel 2 actually takes it out on a citywide aspect. Channel 2, we should be able to communicate from Constantia, Kloof all the way through to Mondio and Eikenhof without any problems. Then Channel 3 and 4 will do the same thing. The one is on Simplex, one is on the repeater, where we can tie in with what I call the CERT EMS side. Their CERT volunteers will be able to communicate with local communities as well. So there's a complete tie-up and integration on that radio network. You know, the sooner, and unfortunately, the radio prices have gotten ridiculous now. The entrance level handheld at 3 has gone to 4.5 as a result of COVID.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, yes, do volunteers need money? Absolutely. However, even as a volunteer, you start with a radio and start building a community emergency radio network in your area, your complexes. Get the message out, share it on your groups. I'll send you some of the stuff that I've already made available for advertising and marketing and explanations and training. I'll send it through to this group where the two of you are. Stephanie, you know, I've added to other groups. Ziad and Michelle, you guys register, come up. I'll put you on the other groups as well. And whenever I've got something that's of interest and, you know, benefit to you, you can read it, you can share it with your other groups, grow your local networks. I can't do it on my own. I need your help. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Not true.
You know, and at the end of the day, communities, they need help across the board. And yes, Disaster Relief CERT is a neutral and impartial humanitarian organization. That has to be made clear.
No, I'm very interested.
You know, and it's not because I got you guys up there, Michelle, but at the end of the day, I want to be quite honest. When it comes to race, color, and creed, the only way you can actually reach out to certain people is if they know you. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
If they don't know you, it becomes a problem.
It comes across as a cold call.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I learned that lesson working in Eldorado Park. You know, Eldorado Park, I got chased because of my skin color on a regular basis. Probably in the first year. Until others realized, no, hold on. You know what it was like working in Tekoza? You drive down the old Verenigen Road. And then you got the ANC on this side and the IFP on this side, and they're shooting each other, and you've just driven past it. And then you get to the station and you turn around and you drive back. And then you go down to Natalspruit Hospital and you go do some work in casualty, and then somebody gives you a call, you need to go to the hostel, and you get to the hostel and you sit down with the warlord. And he says, hey, Chad, sorry, man. Sorry, Chad. Say sorry for. Didn't know that you would drive down Verenigen Road while we were shooting the IFP. Sorry, man. Sorry, Chad. Sorry, Chad. I'll tell my people not to do that when they see the Red Cross vehicle coming. That's the environment that I come out of, and we have got it 1,000 times worse. I need help in every single suburb, every single group you guys are on. share the information. At the moment, the Greater Johannesburg group is almost 1,800. The water crisis is 1,700. The Constantia Kloof and surrounds is now just on 600 people. And then I've got the CK active crime sharing group where we're looking at sharing information on a resident-to-resident community basis where suspicious activity is shared for the benefit of others. And of course, I've got 5 of the 6 or 6 of the 7 private security service providers up on that one as well.
Okay.
So I'll send you guys the link to the Disaster Relief CERT website. Please register, share it with other people, share the material that I'm going to provide on that group. Once you are in actual fact up on the other groups, then I'll take you off of this group. Michelle, as you said, that's very thin. Yes, it is, because I only brought Stephanie on just to share the link. She'd already registered. Otherwise, I'll just throw you guys off of that once you registered on the other group. But please share it out, and most definitely start asking around for, from companies to start making donations so that we can start training people. I think 2024 is a year of training.
Okay, definitely.
And we also need to be prepared for elections. And the potential risk of civil unrest in the country is extremely high. The potential risk of no electricity is also very high.
Okay.
All right. Any further questions? Shall we end the session? We got 10 minutes. Otherwise, we can shut down.
Okay. No more questions on
I
my
think we
side.
can end the session.
All
We'll
right.
just go onto the website, click on the link, and go through the material.
Yeah, and just when you do register, do a head and shoulders photograph, preferably on a white background. And you can send it to me on WhatsApp. Just make sure that you add me. I'll put my telephone number on the group there. Then you can just add me as well. Send me a message. Tell me who you are. And then send me the head and shoulders photograph once you've registered. I'll upload it and go through the process that way.
Awesome stuff. Thank you so much.
All right. Pleasure, man.
Thank
What
you
an
so much,
informative
guys.
session.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Okay,
Well,
thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Nice meeting you.
bye.
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 Likewise. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.